So just a quick disclaimer. We got the name that I got for this presentation today was called Food Wisdom and the Honeybee. But I noticed on the program it's got ancestors and art and other things. Just so you don't expect all of that other, what I'm talking about today is food wisdom and the honeybee. And of course, I like those other topics, so if you want to bring them up, that's fine. But I'm really excited to be here. My name is Susan Brown. I'm the owner of Mademoiselle Miel, one of the chocolate shops here that's over by the other presentation room. We have hot cocoa and hot drinks there.
Ooh, I got both of those. They're
Yeah,
both
the
really
hot
good
lemon.
drinks.
Yep. We're from St. Paul, Minnesota. And we were here last year for the first year, and I'm really happy to be here again. I'll tell you a little bit about my business after we talk about food wisdom and the honeybee, and it'll probably make sense at that point why I intend to do that. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm hoping that you'll feel free if you have a question while I'm saying something, just let me know. But I'm definitely going to invite you to offer some ideas when from time to time. So keep your minds open and be ready to offer your thoughts if you have any. So the first thing that I wanted to address is, what is food wisdom? The first thing here, and what I think of food wisdom is an inner knowing or a knowledge within yourself about how to nourish yourself. What do I actually need? What fits my body? Because each one of us is a little bit different, and we already kind of know that, but to fine tune that is what I'm calling food wisdom, versus just sort of being indifferent to what we eat or eat whatever is easy, right? So we can start to kind of open up to food wisdom by just looking at the empirical evidence about what is good and bad for our bodies. Those are really broad studies, broad, kind of limited in terms of the limitations that science actually has, which is it has a set of data and a set of results, and we know that things go way beyond science in a lot of areas as we keep unfolding science. Science is known to be a place where we learn things, then we relearn them. So for what it's worth, empirical evidence is a starting point with this idea and this notion of food wisdom. There's also family traditions or traditions that have been passed on to us by our culture, the towns that we grow up in, our own families that say we always have turkey for Thanksgiving, and we always have mashed potatoes, and we approach it by the things that we're used to, that our parents or grandparents have told us are beneficial for us. And maybe we're beginning to think about it because maybe aren't using the word food wisdom, but we're hearing a lot about food in our news and in our papers because of issues that we're having as people, and so maybe we'll try new foods. Or we'll try new flavors of things, but maybe not necessarily new foods. And by foods, I mean like a vegetable or a fruit or a meat or something versus a dish. So a dish that has something in it. So you're not actually trying the food item. You're tasting something that has an ingredient you've never tried before. So you might not know how it impacts you completely because it's altered. So here's my first thought that we could get some input from you guys is, what are some ways that you have established your own level of food wisdom at this point, outside of some of those, if you have any additional ideas? Anybody?
I mean, whenever I'm having my allergies act up, I always go to having
that local honey and make sure I buy it.
The local honey. And how did you come to that? How did you figure that out?
I had heard it from someone somewhere at
Yeah.
some point, and then I had tried it, and I had bought, there's a one that does out here in Mays, and I bought locally. Actually, I think I first heard it. I'm a preschool teacher, and I've had beekeepers come to visit
Yeah.
our classroom.
Yeah.
And so getting
Sometimes.
that education from has been wonderful. So I love getting to learn more about that
Awesome.
process.
Yeah. So there's another example of maybe somebody put a buzz in our ear, so to speak, and then we try it out and it works. An interesting, just side note on that example, science has not proven, they can't explain why honey is beneficial for allergies. It's anecdotal. The research shows there's no science that says it helps allergies for this reason. However, there's lots and lots of anecdotal stories that say my allergies just went away right away, especially if I used local honey. So, that's kind of evidence of both sides that we hear things from people. Like you said, I'm not even sure where. It could have been a parent or a beekeeper or whatever, but when things are repeated often enough, they start to become not knowledge, but not necessarily the truth. So that's where I'm beginning with food wisdom. So I think I wanted to talk about this because there's evidence that we don't really have wisdom in our food. And here's the first statistic that I want to throw at you. 6 in 10 Americans, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6 of us have chronic disease or will have chronic disease. 6 of 10 people, chronic disease. I mean, it's an alarming notion. We were talking a little earlier about colony collapse disorder. Again, we hear it and it just sounds like, what? This is terrible. But then we go out into our lives, which we have created culturally in the US especially, to be really busy and multi-focused, on a lot of different things. And this is important in our mind, and it goes on the important list. But there's so many things that are important that it starts to become less important. And all of a sudden, we're one of the 6 out of those 10 people. I just had a 2-month illness related to my inflammation in my intestines and my gut, my whole gut system. I've never really been sick before. I mean, I've had a cold here and there, but I'm always fine. But it really kind of pushed this issue that it's not just the choices we're making with the food that we eat, but there's also other challenges that we're facing with our food wisdom. I'm just going to throw in this other statistic. 74% of Americans are overweight. And of that 75%, so that's 3 out of 4, 45% of those folks are obese. And obese has a whole nother line of chronic diseases and shortening of lives. And why do we care if our lives are shortened? I mean, any thoughts on that? I mean, my own thoughts are, aren't we here with some purpose? And can't we be of help and service here in our life? And if we're intentionally cutting that short because we're not doing the part that is ours to do, then somebody's missing out on.
Somebody has to do the caring.
And somebody has to do the caring and the work that maybe is ours to be doing.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So that 6 out of 10 statistic, is that the US, and how does that compare against other countries that may be having more relaxed lifestyles?
Yes, it is the US. I don't know what the stats are in some of the bigger other countries. off the top of my head, but they are lower from the research that I've looked at. And that chronic disease includes type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancers, a lot of inflammation issues with joints and whatever. We're also getting a lot of reports lately about pesticides that are used on the food that beef is consuming and animals. So stuff that's, they call it permanent toxins, stuff that doesn't go away in the land. There's issue with grains and veggies. The seeds are coated with pesticides, which are also detrimental to our whole systemic natural system, and including ourselves and including the bees. The water, we've come to accept water that also has issues. All of these are topics, that I'm not an expert on, but we hear about. And so whatever we can do, we can't control all these things, but we can be mindful and make time to address those basic human principles that are ours to stand up for, through our local government and national government. I really appreciate Bobby Kennedy, who's in the health system now, and I might not agree with all of his concerns, but he is diligent in focusing on the worst things. Food dyes was the first thing that he addressed, and they have been a toxin for especially our kids for a long time, causing a lot of dysfunction in brain use and development, which is incredible that we would be feeding stuff like that, like I did, to my kids.
And just to make it look prettier.
And to make it look prettier, to be funner. So teaching kids what fun is should not be poison, really. So is there any other thoughts on this food wisdom topic? So I'm going to shift over into the bee part, the honeybee part, and then maybe kind of pull it all together towards the end. So how does the honeybee fit into all of this? I think, to begin with, there's a statistic that says 3 out of 4 bites that we eat exist because bees have pollinated those foods and made them possible for us or animals that we consume to eat. So they fit in because it's part of the essential elements that we need to have food wisdom, to manifest food wisdom, okay? And because of that, we also have this issue of colony collapse disorder, which we first started hearing about maybe 15 years ago. And yes, it was alarming to hear the bees are dying and stuff like that. However, the bees are still in serious threat. And just for example, in Minnesota alone, where I'm from, last year we lost over 1 million hives in the winter. It was an epic loss. It was the biggest loss that the state has ever had. And Minnesota isn't the highest honey producer. It's number 5. North Dakota is number 1. They're right next to us, up on the north side. So it's this issue of colony collapse disorder is still detrimental, and it's suggested, even though the cause is not crystal clear, kind of like the anecdotal evidence of allergy relief. Most likely the issue is about the food, the quality of food that they have, which is, I have to believe that they know a good plant and a bad plant, a plant that's full and giving and interwoven to the system that they're part of, or a plant that's restrained through genetic alteration. And if that's all they have to go to for nectar, then that's going to impact down the line. And so it's the food that they have available. You know, we in Minnesota, we have a lot of large monocrops, and so people have become a lot more aware of planting stuff for bees, which is essential. But we can pump that up since we're still losing bees. We can get rid of the grass. We have a beekeeping buddy up in Minnesota. We work at farmers market together. He has a big beard and he wears a bee hat. And he has this idea of everybody having their homegrown national park. So considering their home, even if it's an apartment, considering it like a national park because it's part of the whole system. And I really love the idea, you know, of treating your land in a way that's more balanced instead of, you know, fit for just that whole sort of what it's already done, what we're used to, kind of like the food wisdom that we started with.
So I've seen a lot of stuff on like clover lawns.
Clover
Is that
lawns, exactly.
Yeah.
That bees love clover, and it doesn't grow really high, so it's really close to where you started with grass. It's easier for us, you know, to not have to mow all the time. I saw this statement. I don't know the source, so I can't quote it, but you can also take it for a grain of salt, like the other science comments that I made. But science has officially named bees as the most important species on the planet because of their contribution to humans, to plants, to animals, and in support of each other. So I don't think it's too far from the truth. I think it's an amazing species that we just drift away from the value of that and supporting it. The way we support it, or always tell people to support bees especially, is to buy local honey, to support the beekeepers, because it's not cheap to be a beekeeper. It takes a lot of work and you never really get financial compensation. So that's one thing you can do, but also plants and making your yard a national park, homegrown.
Is there any laws like state by state to protect bees?
There are directives, there are proclamations, and different counties even have different green
In
money.
Indiana, If you, excuse me, if you have bees, a beehive, and you register that with the state, it affects the surrounding properties, how much they can spray. And if there's drift that damage your bees, then whoever was applying is responsible for making it right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a really important, to get people to register, they're always afraid what that means.
Mm-hmm.
It's a protection.
Yeah.
And the more people that are registered having hives, and it then can become agricultural,
Yes.
if you get enough chunk of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I looked it up. Indiana has about 9,000 registered hives, but it's an also form of communication. It helps the state, all the different departments, to work together to be in support of each other, which is a good system where everybody's working together. So let's see. I was thinking now, in relation to the title here, how are the bees invoking wisdom and themselves? And there's some really cool stories about that. There's one of the things that the bees do in the hive is they make a product called propolis, it's like a, yeah, it's a resin that comes from tree resin. They collect that from a tree or some plants, and then they filter it through their body, different systems, and they use it inside the hive to seal up cracks and to kind of protect, to make it more sterile inside. And there's some certain qualities about propolis that we've discovered that promote good health, that helps us. So we've, taken that and used it in medicinal things. But the reason for it is to help the bees. And what it does is it offers antibiotics and other nutritional health benefits. It's like a medicine coating that they put on the inside of the hive. And the amazing thing is that it changes every year. The elements of it are unique to that hive, those bees, and the plants that they go to. And so we know that this is one of the ways that bees are wise, is they know how to take care of themselves. And we're trying to address their issues with mites, which is one of the problems. And we put this chemical on there, this acid that is really harsh. And yes, it dispels some of the mites, but not all of them, or they wouldn't be around. They've actually gotten worse. So how does that work? So bees are tuned in to how to help themselves if we let them. Um, um, They also have this adaptation where they have become more hygienic over the years, science has observed. And that means that when they come into the hive after being out foraging, they clean themselves and each other, and that removes mites from that could be coming into the hive. So they've become more hygienic just naturally, and that's their own wisdom that they're paying attention to and using to be examples for us. They've also kind of changed their cooperation with us as beekeepers. Like we have developed this hive that has the perfect spacing and the perfect size and all this stuff according to us. And bees are starting to swarm those boxes. And what that means is in the spring when a hive grows really big, it sometimes outgrows the space that you have for them. And so half of the hive, they'll raise a new queen, leave the new queen behind, and the old queen and half of the population will leave the hive together. It's called swarming, and they'll move out and move into a new location that they select unanimously. Another wisdom gem, and then they'll kind of propagate this way. And we've found that bees are swarming much more often than they ever used to, which means they're getting out of the hives that we've made and said, we're going outside. We're going to the place that we want to go. So they're adapting and making the adjustments to give us examples of how to be wise ourselves. Am I doing? Oh my gosh, what? All right, so how do we address the apathy or the lack of wisdom in ourselves? We initiate motivation, talking together. There's lots of podcasts and talks and books and stuff. There's things about our health, our gut health, and our mood, and other things about how our health will impact these chronic diseases. I'm going to try to read it in a hurry because I don't want the next person to get off track. And so I apologize if it doesn't make sense, but I hope it does. Finding a support system is important. Start talking about it and find another interest, and then make a club, food wisdom club, bee club, whatever. And then here's the hardest part, developing self-discipline. It's because we have to eat all day, every single day. It's so easy to stop by Wendy's and just get a quick burger because I'm starving. But I can tell you that self-discipline will improve with in small ways, like setting that intention, first of all, in your mind, like I want to have more self-discipline. Yep. And then sometimes meditation helps people, sometimes prayer helps people to fulfill those good intentions. And one of the other great wisdom things about bees is they operate as one body. Like if this is one body, so if my hand wants to do this, everything else is cooperating with that to happen. And in the hive, there's all different parts, but they're eusocial. They all have the same purpose, which is to propagate themselves.
Is it okay if I do video?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Bees pollinate and add billions of dollars to the U.S. ag economy. Their diversity in what they pollinate, it really supports the overall ecosystem. They're also generational, like they'll go out and forage from plants that their sisters pollinated last summer. They'll bring that nectar in, and by the time they die, it becomes the next generation's honey, food. So they are all about generations and legacy and passing that on. There's apitherapy, which is bee venom therapy, which helps different parts of our bodies. There's vibration, sound, that helps, is proving to be helpful for PTSD and other anxiety disorders. There's lots of ways to help yourself with bees. They're just such a good example on that food wisdom and for themselves, and they're helpful for us to be wise in ourselves. So then I wanted to, I'm hoping that with my business that I can develop better food wisdom and encourage and support you in your desire and all of our desire to have more better food wisdom. So I use only honey or maple sugar, unrefined sugar. And I don't have anything against dairy, but I don't use dairy because there's a lot of other ingredients that support people who are sensitive to dairy, like buckwheat, wild rice, and oats, other grains that add a creamy texture. So that's what we do. We have the drinks and stuff. I have some cards here if you want to take any, or if you ever want to talk with me. That's one of my favorite topics is food that's beneficial. And instead of eating food that's not bad, I've been keeping this motto in my own head since I was sick is only eat what's good. It has to be good. It has to benefit you. And if you get hungry for the wrong reasons, like I'm bored or something like that, I'm anxious, drink water or have a note for yourself. However you help yourself stay on course, get back on course. And maybe you just need to eat a little bite of something every hour to help work through that. Anyways, thank you so much for your attendance here and for your support. And if you have any other questions, please come see me at the table and keep up the good work that you're already doing. Thank you.
Remind people, to support honeybees, we also have to support native bees.
Yes,
Honeybees are
they're the big pollinators, but yeah.
Remember that anything that harms one harms the other.
Yeah. And the same with us. And we forget that. When we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not taking care of the other.
And buckwheat is one of the best things because it's an indeterminate blossom. It is the first available nectar and one of the last.
Yep.